Greetings, viewers. Thanks for tuning in today. Looking down upon my Lexus LS400. I love this car. I've wanted this car for a really long time. Excuse me, I finally got it from a really good buddy of mine who is a Toyota mechanic, so I know it's been really well cared for. So, of course, I had to get it and mess it up. I wanted to put new tires on it. And I wasn't a big fan of the factory wheel. Not a bad looking wheel, but just wasn't a big fan of it. Didn't want to reuse it. Against my better judgment, I went with an aftermarket wheel. I generally don't like an aftermarket wheel. They're, in my opinion, not as well built as a factory wheel. A lot of factory wheels are made by Funjunkie. I think I pronounced that right. I don't know. These wheels are made by Vox. They say Pulse on them because that's Bell Tire's brand. If you buy the Vox brand, you pay extra money, almost exactly the same wheel. So there's that. Now, with the factory Toyota wheel, the thickness of the rim here is made up by this shank. So you get plenty of threads catching on your lug studs. Now, we're going with this aftermarket wheel. It takes these little lug nuts that I also ain't a big fan of, but they don't have the shank on them. So then you have the thickness of the wheel here that you need to make up in your lug studs. So the whole point of this video here is to take out the factory lug studs that were yay big, excuse me, and put in, can I get it there? Yeah, put in these longer ones. Now these longer ones will catch, excuse me, the thickness of the wheel. So to put these in, now I was told you have to take everything apart. You got to take the brake caliper off, which is 2/17, no big deal. There's screws in the rotor that you have to take out and pop the rotor off, but it just comes right apart. It's pretty basic. When you're putting these in, they have a knurl on the back. You kind of want to start trying to line up, as if you can, that factory knurl. Just a little bit to hold it. I'm going to set this up and try to show you how to set these lug studs in place. I throw a couple washers on a factory nut, not those little ones that take the sleeve thing. So just run that up on there so it's tight. Keep saying this morning. Set this to tighten. Put a deep well on there. You got to kind of hold it because this wants to spin, or you can stick something in there to keep it from spinning. Probably, maybe, probably not. I'm going to hold this chrome socket, which is not recommended, just to keep this from spinning, but you just pull it in. You can feel it when it gets to the bottom. It stops. You just need to bring it up nice and flat. And if you can see that very well, you see how that's brought up nice and flat. And that's all you got to do with putting the new stud in. So use the stock one. Use an impact. If you think an impact's too brutal and you want to not use an impact, you're going to have to find a way to hold this from moving. Now, take it back off. It isn't hurting those threads. These are hardened units I bought off of eBay. Car Part 500 or Car Part 5000 maybe was the guy. Anyway, he had the best price on these. Good time to check or replace your unit bearing here if it's got a problem. That's the way you get those in. I still have to do the other side. I'm going to see if I can do it without having to remove the caliper, or the caliper and the rotor. It looks like there might be enough room to fish them through here behind the caliper. I'm gonna go to the other side and see. Hang on. Okay, well, just as I suspected, you can get through that slot in the back. What I've been doing is taking my magnet, sticking it through this slot in the back to where this stud is, right there. smack it out with your hammer. And then just pull it out the back here. If you can see where I'm going in there, right under the caliper bolt at the top, there's that little space right there where my magnet thing is slid in there. And you can just pull that stud right out the back there. That's a great way to do it, saves some time. Let me drive another one in. I dropped that one. Let me grab it real quick. Alright, it just slid off of my magnet there, but I did have it on there with the magnet. Dropped it. I got it back out with my fingers actually. Just put the new one on your magnet on the end. You don't even have to look back there, just kind of feel for that hole. Slide it on up in there. You had to push it with your finger and give it a little wiggle to find just the right spot. There's barely enough room to get it back in there, but it'll go. Now the only drawback to this way is you can't tell when you've got your stud all the way seated, but as you do it with the impact stops when it gets to the bottom because it's metal on metal and it's tight as it can be. It can't go any further. You can kind of feel it. Let me do that real quick. It's a nice slow burn as it pulls it in there, but you can really feel it and hear the difference in the sound it makes when it's up there. So one more, hopefully without dropping it here, to show you that I can get them out this way. Obviously I just did it, but anyway, try not to mess it up. There, I got that one. Ta-da, came out on the magnet. Take a new one, put it on your magnet, and away you go. Now, Land Cruiser studs will also work here, and they are about 3/8 of an inch longer, which probably would have worked for me. I had to order them as well. They were more expensive. I saw on several threads where people were using these 50mm ones. The 50mm ones are too long for my application, and I actually had to cut the little acorn top off of my lug nuts. So I could have trimmed down the nuts, the studs, or actually got the correct size ones to begin with, but I didn't do a lot of research. I watched someone else's YouTube video, and they didn't tell you the things that I'm figuring out here. You can see where I ground on my caliper at first because I thought it was hitting my caliper. Turns out that wasn't the deal. It was hitting wheel weights. So anyway, that's the story with my wheels and Lexus lug stud replacement. Thanks for tuning in. To request for a shock video on a 3rd gen, so I'm going to put a rear shock on a 3rd gen here in a minute. But thanks for tuning in on a little bit on the Lexus, and I might do a walk around on this beauty because, man, I just love this car. It is so awesome. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Sure appreciate you.